Welcome back to another explainer. Today, we are completely rethinking what an organization is. We're not just talking about some static building with a corporate logo slapped on the front. We're looking at it as a living, breathing machine. Think about it. Any machine needs perfectly synchronized parts to survive, right? If just one gear slips, the whole engine can literally stall out. So today, we're decoding the MGT211 Introduction to Business Framework, and we're going to break down exactly what those functional gears are. But more importantly, we'll figure out who is sitting in the driver's seat, making sure the whole thing runs smoothly.
Okay, let's just quickly map out our blueprint for today. We're going to cover the 8 functional business areas, then move into the 4 pillars of management, look at the 10 roles every manager plays, and finish up with the essential managerial skills.
All right, diving right into Section 1, the 8 functional business areas.
So let's lay all the essential parts of our engine right out on the table. A business basically relies on these 8 interconnected gears: operations, marketing, finance, human resources, sales, IT, R&D, and customer service. Now, some of these are pretty self-explanatory, like IT and customer service, but others, they act as the heavy-duty primary engine blocks that actually drive everything else forward. Let's isolate a couple of these heavy lifters.
First up, operations and production. This is the absolute physical core of our machine. If a business produces a good or a service, this is where the magic happens. Operations ensures efficiency, it maintains quality control, and it keeps things cost-effective. These are the folks in the trenches. They're handling manufacturing, managing inventory so you never run out of stock, and overseeing all those crazy supply chain logistics. I mean, without operations, there literally is no product.
And then we have the fuel for our machine, finance. Finance manages all the money-related matters because, honestly, it doesn't matter how incredible your product is if you run out of capital. This area handles the absolutely critical tasks of budgeting, bookkeeping, and balancing expenses versus income. They secure the funding to actually grow the business, all while making sure taxes and compliance are perfectly in line so regulators don't just suddenly shut the whole shebang down.
Moving right along to Section 2, the 4 pillars of management.
So we've got these 8 distinct departments running at full speed, but who makes sure they aren't just grinding against each other? Well, enter management. This is the central nervous system of the organization. Management drives success through 4 sequential pillars. First, planning. This is defining your goals, anticipating risks, and setting the strategy. Second is organizing, structuring your resources, assigning roles, and creating departments to actually execute the plan. Third, leading. This is the human element, where managers have to guide and motivate their employees. And finally, controlling. This just means monitoring performance against those initial goals and correcting any deviations along the way.
Which brings us to Section 3, 10 roles every manager plays.
To successfully execute those 4 pillars, managers have to wear a ton of hats. Management expert Henry Mintzberg actually grouped these into 10 distinct roles across 3 broad categories. First, you have interpersonal roles. These handle the people, acting as a figurehead, a leader motivating the team, or a liaison networking outside the company. Next, informational roles. These manage the flow of data, acting as a monitor scanning the industry, a disseminator sharing that data internally, or a spokesperson. And finally, decisional roles tackle the tough choices, acting as an entrepreneur initiating change, a disturbance handler responding to crises, a resource allocator, and a negotiator finalizing deals. You see, you aren't just doing one job here. You might be an entrepreneur launching a massive new initiative at 9 a.m., and then, bam, you're a disturbance handler putting out a sudden supplier fire at 10 a.m. It's a constant shifting gears.
And finally, Section 4, essential managerial skills. Look, knowing what a manager does is really only half the battle. According to the Robert L. Katz framework, you need a very specific toolkit to do it effectively, and it requires a constant balancing act. On one side, you have technical skills. This is the ability to use specific knowledge, tools, or software. Think of, being a wizard at Excel, operating production machinery, or coding. These are vital at lower management levels for hands-on work. On the other side, you have human or interpersonal skills, communicating clearly, motivating teams, that sort of thing. The whole point here is that as you move up in an organization, you spend way less time operating machinery yourself and much more time coordinating. You become this vital human link, ensuring marketing, finance, and operations are all talking to each other.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a question to chew on. We've seen the 8 functional areas. You understand the 4 pillars holding them together, and you know the 10 specific roles and the exact skills managers use to keep the engine from blowing up. So, looking at this blueprint, where do your skills fit into the business machine? Are you drawn to the technical precision of operations? Or maybe the strategic data flow of informational management? Or perhaps the superhuman-centric focus of leadership? Regardless of whether you want to be a software developer or a top-tier accountant, understanding exactly how your specific gear meshes with the rest of the organization is an absolute game changer for thriving in any business environment. Keep analyzing, keep learning, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.